All right, now let's turn to politics and actually take a look at the Attorney General's race, where John Cahill appears to be gaining some ground, at least, on the incumbent, Eric Schneiderman. There's a new Siena poll out that shows 50% of voters, they're backing Schneiderman's re-election bid, while 34% support Cahill. And if you say, hey, Rich, that's a pretty big gap. Well, the gap was about 27 points just last month here. The poll also found that Cahill has got more momentum than his partners on the GOP statewide ticket. How much you think challenge he's going to have is that he's getting no help on the ticket here. And I think the people that know Cahill think he'd be capable of this, you know, but he's not getting help anywhere else.
I don't know that I agree he's not getting help from the ticket, because I think that Cahill is moderate on issues that Astorino is much more strident on.
Agreed.
And in large parts of the state, Astorino voters are not going to vote for Schneiderman. So while Astorino is likely to lose against the governor, extremely likely to lose against the governor. Yeah. Thanks, Richard. But those voters are voters who might not have come out except for Astorino's strident position on some social issues. I'm not going to get into it beyond that. But those voters will vote for Cahill, who is more moderate on those issues.
You don't think, you guys probably know this. I always assume overwhelmingly people just vote down party lines.
No
They don't.
No.
Voters are very
No
sophisticated.
longer.
They compartmentalize their thinking.
Fickle.
They're very, I would say, nuanced. I don't know if I'd say fickle. Eric, and we'll disagree, the Assemblywoman said, well, there's no Republican on the panel, so I'm sometimes a Republican. Eric is very busy doing everybody else's job. He's doing the job of the U.S. Attorney. He's doing the job of the Department of Justice. He's not doing his job in some respects. He's not working with OCA. He's not improving access to justice. He's not working with the backlog of tax cert cases in Nassau County. He's not working on the criminal backlog in the Bronx or access to interpreters in Queens. And these are the things that New York's top law official, although not law enforcement, should be working on, instead of negotiating settlements in Washington and flying out to do conclaves with other attorneys general.
I couldn't disagree more.
I knew you were going to say that. I just think, except for some safe areas where he's going to be well received, he doesn't leave the city much. So I'm
First place, you know, he's been in Yonkers, and you may not think it's leaving the city, but I have been very clear, as someone who worked for the Attorney General for 12 years, you got to go outside of New York. Bob Abrams made it a point of visiting every one of the 62 counties every year, and it was the right thing to do. This is a job in which it's hard to get publicity for the things you do every day, whether it's dealing with seniors, dealing with card deposits. There's a ton of little things that attorneys general do very well, and Eric Schneiderman is doing them very well. You can't get press on them, and you're not going to get credit.
Look at his predecessors. Andrew Cuomo and Elliot Spitzer, they made Attorney General, the AG of New York, the best political gig you could. You could go after the white-collar guys. You could go after whatever high crimes you want to go after, be the sheriff of Wall Street. Is it because Cuomo's put the kibosh on Schneiderman getting any press? Is that really what's going on here?
No, but the truth is the Attorney General's jurisdiction is largely not criminal. They have enhanced this area of the Martin Act and other places where they could go after white-collar criminal and the stock market and the banks. But traditionally, the Attorney General's office is all these other areas, oversight of real property transactions, boring things that it's hard to get attention to. And Eric Schneiderman is doing an excellent job. And I would say for the last month, John Cahill, who, you know, by the way, is from Yonkers, is spent all his money and did his ads. Okay, he got his numbers up, fine. Now we're going to see Eric Schneiderman do his ads, get his message out, be way outside of New York all the time, and do extremely well at the end of the day.
I want to get to the next one. And Andrew, I'm curious.
Old friend of ours.
Yes, Greg Ball, outgoing Republican state senator, never short of headlines of all different varieties. He's crossing party lines. He's endorsing a colleague. Today, Ball announced that he's throwing his support behind Democratic Congressman Sean Patrick Maloney, who's running for re-election in the Hudson Valley District. Ball releasing a statement saying, on many issues we disagree, including gay marriage, by the way, but when it comes to fighting for our nation's veterans, I have found no stronger ally than Congressman Sean Patrick Maloney. Two questions. Why? And secondly, why is Sean Patrick Maloney, do you think, publicizing the fact that Greg Ball is getting behind it?
First of all, when it comes to Greg Ball, it's hard to ever answer the question why and to be completely accurate about it.
Forget the dead goat story. I just remember that one, yeah.
From everything that I know, there's some bad blood between Ball and Nan Hayworth. He was rumored to, I think he was trying or considering a run against Hayworth.
Yep.
Back when she first ran for the House of Representatives, and I think that lingers. So this may be a little bit of payback from Ball, or at least attempted payback at Hayworth. Less a ringing endorsement of Maloney and more, playing a certain card towards Congresswoman Hayworth. As for why would Sean Patrick Maloney advertise this, or why would he send out a press release, or why would he tweet it? An incumbent Democratic congressman in a relatively close district gets a Republican supporter. Yeah, that's going to be a headline for a day or two, or at least you hope it's a headline. Maybe you can coax a few voters to come out. Maybe you can get a little money from places that you might not have
To
the
show
expected.
where you draw your votes from is incredibly important. Senator Schumer in 2004 was reelected with 30% of Republican votes and 20% of Conservative Party votes. The political discourse has gotten more polarized and heated and charged since then. Those numbers are not attainable. But in a district like this where they have elected Republicans, it's news.
And Ball is popular.
news.
Ball has
And Ball, to his credit, and I disagree with him about a million things, on veterans issues in Albany, he was an incredibly outspoken person, and he built a tremendous following. So one, this may help Maloney raise money in the veterans community, in my opinion. And secondly, it's not the easiest district. It's a conservative district.
Well, it's a razor's edge every
and
year. It's a
I
fight.
agree with you, Andrew. This is, potentially a very significant factor.
It's flipped every election since 2008, I believe.
Yep.
I didn't know that, really.
I want to get real quickly to a story out of this mayor's administration. It could be a shakeup here. Post reporting here that one of the mayor's top aides is dating a convicted killer and drug trafficker. Rachel Nordlinger, she has served as chief of staff to First Lady Charlene McCray for 6 years. Post saying that her boyfriend has been found guilty of serious crimes like homicide, conspiring to run a cocaine operation, and also accused of nearly running a cop off the road in Edgewater, New Jersey last year. He also posted comments on Facebook referring to the police as pigs. Mayor spokeswoman Rebecca Katz released a statement saying Rachel is her own person. She's a strong, independent woman who possesses a core set of values and beliefs that align with this administration. The PBA president, Pat Lynch, he's not buying it, saying these revelations are of serious concern because her position gives her access to critical information about police plans and strategies. That all said, this wouldn't happen under Bloomberg. There seemed to be a couple moments where it's either not ready for prime time. We saw what happened with, his press person who was dating Spitzer. Come on, shouldn't this been vetted a little bit more, or at least hold it a kibosh
In the
on
Bloomberg
this?
administration, it would have been vetted more carefully, and the appointment wouldn't have happened. But once appointed, let's not kid ourselves, the Bloomberg administration was not going to move off of somebody that they had appointed. And the New York Post headlines are not going to push this administration to dump someone who is professional and accomplished and a strong personality, and I'm a big fan of hers. The folks that are going to have the most concerns over this are folks who are not supporting the de Blasio administration to begin with. But it's sort of surprising this hasn't come out earlier.
Is it an illegitimate issue to say, time out here, a person who's in the administration, the boyfriend's bringing not only this amount of baggage here, but he's posting what he's saying about cops? I mean, maybe Pat Lynch is getting in a dig at the de Blasio administration, but does he have a point?
Well, I think the only point is that those in the public sphere and appointed and paid for by the taxpayers have to be particularly mindful about their personal life, because it becomes the baggage of the elected official for whom they work. And she's obviously a very capable person. I think she should be judged on her own merits, and they've judged her to be a person who brings something to their administration. With that being said, for everyone who is in public life, it comes with a broader array of responsibilities, and I think you have to be mindful of that. And I suspect they'll just tell her to
I don't know
be
what
more,
they'll
be
I'm
more
just trying to chart this out in my
narrow.
head, because we're talking about the guy who is the boyfriend of the woman who is the chief of staff of the first lady. I understand it's not a great PR position to be in, but it's not like we're talking about the deputy mayor.
It implicates the increased and enhanced role that the First Lady has in
Exactly.
government and policy, which anybody who knew the mayor as a city councilman, as public advocate, it's not news that his wife is
He's made no
first
secret
among
of it.
equals.
Yeah.
Exactly, he's made no secret of it. but this is new for New York City. So I think it's fair game. It's a fair issue.
If she worked for you, would you say do whatever you want, but don't bring them to any events? Come on, you guys know you would. You don't need
The
additional.
Assemblywoman doesn't have,
hard enough. You
the
don't need that
Assemblywoman doesn't have
additional.
a budget for that sort of staff.
Yeah.
So let's leave it at that.
Well played.
My staff is lucky if they can take a boyfriend out.
Dun-dun-dun. Up next year, we're going to turn to a story that I thought this table could have an interesting conversation on. It was a heartbreaking story, front page of the Times, and it raises questions that I bet a whole lot of people out there have struggled with themselves. It has to do with dying with dignity and the right to choose where you want to be when you do say your final goodbyes.